So I want to now share some of the national ideas around how we can help students and youth around social media use. A lot of these are national ideas, so I really hope that to hear from you all in the chat about what are you seeing on the ground with that youth that you're working with. Some of these strategies, as they're implemented on the ground, are going to work, and some are going to be not as helpful. So again, if you tried some of these strategies or have other strategies, really welcome hearing that in the chat. One thing that's almost universally suggested with schools and other youth serving systems is the idea of social media literacy. So this is the idea that if we share with teens kind of how does social media work, how does digital design really can be used in a not healthy way, with some of the addictive potential where social media has been driven by algorithms that prioritize drama and keeping the most eyes on content, and having that realization that um, it's the same thing with other really kinds of pleasurable behaviors where if you get a lot of likes or if you get a lot of friends, it's having that impact on the brain. But just with other behaviors that are sometimes associated with addiction, um, that impact on the brain can lead to less healthy things and less healthy use of social media. Um, a lot of these strategies talk about media balance. So trying to look at how to use the good in social media, some of those positives we talked about, looking at what things make you feel better and not worse, and then trying to look at digital balance and what else is going on that is used for positives and reinforcement, and being really planful and trying to look for that balance. There's discussions about cyberbullying and preparing students with skills to look for the signs and practicing responses around cyberbullying. There's information about privacy and learning how to positively shape one's digital footprint and manage privacy, and really just considering the profitability motive for personal information marketing of the social media companies. There's a suggestion that a strategy is to really inform youth and talk with youth about advertisements and learning how to identify and cope with social media advertising, trying to differentiate, again, what's fake and what's real, and giving students skills around that. Another area is, again, phishing and spam. How do you identify that and take action? And then again, the idea of recognizing influencers versus experts. I wanted to suggest, again, I'd love to hear if there's curriculums folks are using. Um, that's again really in its infancy, trying to figure out what works and doesn't work. The teensandtech.org, they do have a curriculum that's used with students. Um, and I think it has some really interesting components around teaching these kinds of things. Other successful school strategies that have been reported in the literature, one is just the recognition, like with many areas, um, school personnel have strong relationship with students. So it's like other areas where the school personnel are often modeling and reinforcing more the positive things through their strong relationship with students. There's ideas around teaching these social media management skills as an entree to career skills. So, learning to balance social media, it's something we have to do in school. It's something we have to do when we get in the work world. So, thinking about how these skills kind of fit in with career skills as well. There's ideas around self-reflection, which is, I know we started with that exercise. So trying to look at awareness of social media use, kind of thinking about that as digital metacognition and trying to be more intentional around what we do. um, looking at behavior change, advancing this kind of balance. So the literature talks about teaching and reinforcing on-device strategies. Some things like turning off push notifications, those bells and bings, they really draw our attention and then sometimes can get us drawn into social media use. Looking at off-device strategies, so scheduling positive free time, getting that on our calendars and making that a lifelong skill. And then connecting students and families to resources overall to help with their overall social determinants of health needs and health and mental health needs. Um, the idea that being healthier overall also helps with some of what we're aiming for with healthier digital balance. And then there's some discussion just around, there's a lot of legal and civics hot topics in the social media area. This one that was suggested just reminded, I can think of a debater or someone in that area or civics, more looking at how does some of the civics area impact social media and health. This particular area, looking at what's how do you balance age gating or having expectations about when youth and students are online versus some First Amendment rights. So again, a lot of hot topics in that area. I want to switch gears now and just talk about some resources for overall adult strategies to support youth. The American Psychological Association has released this health advisory on social media, and it's really it's a overview, but I think it puts in one place a lot of the good things we're trying to promote at schools and in broader community and households. So, excuse me, encouraging functions that promote healthy socialization, while at the same time discouraging functions that are not suitable for the child's level of maturity, monitoring use for early adolescence, and just really, uh, uh, I'm a parent of two teens, so really looking at how do we balance um, the use, but also being in the know about some of the use, and being in the know then helps us teach some of the skills. Um, Minimizing exposure to and removing content depicting illegal or maladaptive behaviors, trying to minimize exposure to and remove content that promotes discrimination, violence, and hate. Um, Trying to look at daily use, and this is trying to get at, when does it go from that line of um, really needing some extra help or extra supports in managing social media use. So three of the questions suggested are, is it a student who's tried to reduce screen time and just they're not being able to be successful? Has the student or youth gone to extreme measures to try to retain access to social media? And is the screen time interfering with the use of the roles and responsibilities? Similarly, we talked about, limiting use that interferes with sleep and activity, trying to limit use that encourages social comparison, um, doing the things we talked about a little bit earlier about trying to advance social media literacy and trying to make that a process and helping teens get the skills before they're spending a lot of time online. And then I think we've seen that throughout this presentation. There's just a lot of needs to better understand what's the youth experience and the community experience of social media, and how do we maximize the positive and limit the negative. I want us in this the didactics portion. I really find this a hopeful slide. It's really one of my favorite social media movement groups. It's a student created and student led group called Blog Off. So the idea of it was founded by two teens who are now 20 and in college, and their idea was, how can we ourselves as teens look at more hitting that balance? They have a new back to school screen time improvement guide with a lot of really good ideas, some of which we mentioned today. A lot of what they talk about is setting goals and working together with friends to achieve those goals. Their newest strategy is phone down and fork up. So the idea that, instead of using social media, we're instead going to get together as friends and have a meal together. Um, they really focus on the creating the good habits, not just telling you what not to do, but looking for how do we reinforce the good things to do together. And then finally, they look a lot at student advocacy and sharing the student voice and experience to inform um, how we all as communities help students.